Namaste, hello and welcome to my channel Ahamevyaham. This is the Vedic Astrology series, and today I'm going to cover some basic information on the lunar nodes Rahu and Ketu. To understand this video, you need to have the basic knowledge of astrology, specifically Vedic astrology, regarding the 12 signs or rashis, the 9 planets or grahas, and the 27 nakshatras. So if you possess this basic knowledge, you can easily understand what I'm going to explain today. So this is part 1 of the secrets of the nodes, and what I'm going to cover is shown on the screen. The contents include introduction to Rahu and Ketu, astronomical basis of the nodes, general dictums about Rahu and Ketu, predictions related to the nodes, and the remedies for the problems or issues caused by the nodes. And in this part 1, I'm going to cover the first 3 topics today. Rahu and Ketu, or the nodes, are such elusive, shadowy planets that even for seasoned astrologers it is quite difficult to predict their effective results. So to clarify all those doubts, I'm going to present something unique in this video. Rahu and Ketu, they are grahas in the celestial space. These nodes are invisible, that is not physical planets, but arrived at via mathematical calculations. So you can call them as imaginary points, but then they are not a figment of your imagination. They do affect this planet Earth and all the living beings on this planet. And the thing about Rahu and Ketu is they have been mentioned in various classical literature and Vedic texts, including Rig Veda, Vishnu Puran, Surya Siddhant, Mahabharata, etc. Now, if you are a practicing astrologer or a student of astrology, or someone who's simply interested in this subject, you need to understand the mythology behind Rahu and Ketu, because there are so many things in our Puranas and Vedic literature without understanding which you really can't become a good astrologer. You really can't predict properly. So I'm going to cover that now. I'm going to give you a brief introduction on the birth of Rahu and Ketu. So the story goes something like this. At the verge of losing to King Mahabali, who was a Rakshasa king, Indra, the god, the king of the Devas, he forged an alliance with him to carry out the Samudra Manthana. I believe most of you would be aware of this story of Samudra Manthana, but still let me recap, and for those who are not aware, I'll present a brief on the same. So, wherein the Mount Meru was taken, the serpent Vasuki was used, and at one end there were Devas and the other end were the Rakshasas, and they were churning the ocean to obtain certain precious things, including the nectar of immortality, that is Amrita. So at the end of the process, Dhanvantari emerged with a pot of Amrit, and Lord Vishnu appeared as Mohini and began distributing it to the Devas, because knowing very well that if the Rakshasas have it, they will become immortal, and then the Devas will never be able to win over them, and the whole world will be in chaos. So, sensing Vishnu's treachery, SWARBHANU, who was a Rakshasa, he joined the row of Devas in disguise like a spy. And as Mohini, who is actually Vishnu, tilted the pot for SWARBHANU, Surya and Chandra, that is the sun and the moon, they recognized him and alerted Mohini. So immediately Mohini slit the throat of SWARBHANU with the Sudarshan Chakra. However, a drop of nectar had already entered SWARBHANU's throat. So that made both the head and the body immortal, even after getting slit with the Sudarshan Chakra. So that's why Rahu is also called as the dragon's head, and Ketu is called as the dragon's tail. So Rahu is the one who has the head and there is no body, often depicted with the body of a serpent, and Ketu is the one who has a body with no head, often depicted as the hood of the serpent. So that's how Rahu and Ketu were born out of SWARBHANU during Samudra Mantana. I've covered this mythological story because there are a lot of hidden clues about the natures, characteristics, attributes and qualities of these nodes, Rahu and Ketu, and how they affect the human being, specifically the human psyche and our karma. And to know more about it, you can read my book SWARBHANU RAHASYA by Prashant AU. This is available on mlbd.in, that is Motilal Banarsidass Publishing, as well as on Amazon, Flipkart and many other e-commerce sites. So there's a detailed story about this and how to predict anything out of a horoscope based simply on the nodes, that is Rahu and Ketu. So please buy it, read it. Now let me move on to the next topic, which is about the astronomical basis of the nodes. For the skeptics and the ignoramuses, let me tell you that Jyotish Vidya, it's a Vedanga and it's called as the eye of the Vedas, and it is not some pseudoscience or some hodgepodge mockery of anything. It is an absolute science or an art which is based in astronomy. So what is the astronomical basis of the nodes? Rahu and Ketu, they denote the intersection points of the paths of sun and moon. Now remember, our Vedic astrology, which is sidereal astrology, is purely based from a geocentric point of view. It doesn't mean that we are denying the heliocentric model of modern science. It's a really scientific way where we are trying to observe the motion of the planets from where we are, that is on planet Earth. That's why it's considered as a geocentric model. So from Earth, when we observe the path of the sun and the moon in the sky, they intersect at two different places, and that is what is called as Rahu and Ketu. And therefore Rahu and Ketu are respectively called as the north and south lunar nodes. They do not have a gross physical body or entity, a tangible presence, but are mathematical points that appear in the horoscope. When you cast a horoscope is basically a 360-degree view of the sky based on your time and place of birth. That's what a horoscope is, and hence they are known as shadow planets with the power to even eclipse the luminaries. Remember that we always have a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse following each other, and it happens twice every year, and it is caused by Rahu and Ketu, the nodes. Hope that is clear to all of you. Now let me add something more interesting and something more challenging for those who are more interested in the astronomical and mathematical aspect of this. Let's think about reverse engineering the birth of Rahu and Ketu. Now SWARBHANU, that is before Mohini slit the throat of Rahu and Ketu, that's how Rahu and Ketu were born. It was SWARBHANU, right? So SWARBHANU denotes a time when both the intersection points in the celestial sphere were either one or none. Now this can mean either of the following. The sun and moon would intersect only once per year, that is only one solar eclipse and one lunar eclipse per year, and everybody knows that we have it twice, right, since modern science has acknowledged it. And the other option would be sun and moon would not intersect at all. Now this further indicates the following, which is the paths of sun and moon were the same, that is moon tailgating the sun for 12 months and then vice versa, that is the sun tailgating the moon for 12 months. And how would that be visible from Earth is that sun would rise from east for 1 year and then from west for the next year, and so on in alternating manners. The other possibility is the paths of sun and moon would have been parallel to each other, that is sun and moon visible together at all times, so which is highly unlikely even as per modern science. Now why I am covering this is, as mentioned, I will bring in topics that are rarely discussed and are of high academic value in all my videos wherever Vedic astrology is concerned. So one thing, a few things to note here are that this would challenge the wobbling motion theory and changing axis of the earth as proposed by some scientists regarding modern science. And as far as Vedic astrology is concerned, we are following the current Ayanamsha. There are different types of Ayanamsha that are used by different astrologers. I am specifically using sidereal astrology based on the precision of equinoxes and Raman Ayanamsha, which is basically 22 degrees 43 minutes and 54 seconds as on this date. And keep this in mind that all my calculations are based on this particular Ayanamsha. So let's move on with the general dictums of Rahu and Ketu, that is the predictive part. Shown on your screen are certain nouns, verbs or adjectives that are the general significations of the nodes, that is Rahu or Ketu. Rahu represents faulty logic, harsh speech, outcast, atheist, irreligious person, unclean, bones, abdominal ulcers, falsehood, southwest direction, serpents, old age, maternal grandfather, worship of Vanadurga, writing Urdu or Persian, breathing, acute duodenal pain, science, all kinds of scientific work, wine, addictions, stock exchange, mathematics, foreign lands, foreign languages, luck with foreign affair, gambling, sudden wealth, technologies, accidental death, mental illness, art, media, fame, glamour, photography, politics, ministers, government affairs, sudden wealth, lottery, casino, horse racing, software, cigarettes, aviation, commission agents, mobiles, satellite, research and development, etc. In fact, most of the things that are modern and quite complex to understand are represented by Rahu. And Ketu represents worship of Chandi, Ganesha, medical practitioner, vultures, final emancipation, that is moksha, consumption, painful fevers, bathe in the Ganges, Ganga Snan, great penance, wind complaints, mantra shastra, Vedanta, grandfather, instability of mind, diseases of the stomach and eye, smallpox, boils, servant of Shiva, association with foreigner or Kshudras. Mind you, Kshudras doesn't mean low caste as propagated by the Western and liberal media. It is just a class of people who serve others. And detachment from all things associated with Rahu and forcing towards spiritual power. It also represents flag, that is Dhwaja, antenna, northwest direction, courage, spirituality, astrology, accidental death, leprosy, polio, skin diseases, and any complicated stuff that is not understood by intellectual people. That is also represented by Ketu. So all these significators have to be kept in mind before attempting to see somebody's horoscope and predict based on Rahu and Ketu. So what you can see on the screen right now is the South Indian chart, birth chart or Kundli or Patrika in the South Indian format, where the position of the Rashis are fixed, starting with the top left corner, which has Pisces. Next to it is Aries. So it starts with Aries, goes through all the 12 houses until Pisces. And remember that these nodes, Rahu and Ketu, are always 180 degrees to each other, and they move in anti-clockwise direction as opposed to all the other planets. That's they are in retrograde motion all the time. So the general things that are mentioned in our Shastras and astrological books like Brihat Parashara, Hora, etc. is that Rahu co-owns Aquarius or Kumbh Rashi and is exalted in Gemini or Mithun Rashi. Ketu co-owns Leo or Simha Rashi and gets exalted in Sagittarius or Dhanu Rashi. Now these nodes provide good results in the houses 3, 6, 10 and even 11 from the ascendant or the moon, that is from your Janma Lagna or Chandra Lagna. Now when these nodes are conjunct with benefics, they spoil the good effects and vice versa. That is, if Rahu and Ketu are conjunct with malefics, they exacerbate the bad results. So example, if there is a conjunction between Jupiter and Rahu, it's called as Guru Chanda Yoga. If there is a conjunction between Chandra and Ketu, it can also lead to something called as Mati Brahma Yoga. If there is conjunction between Mars and Rahu, that is Mangal and Rahu, they can give you lots of diseases, sudden events and accidents. So all these conjunctions of these nodes are very important and critical, and none of the predictions or results mentioned in our classical texts need to be taken verbatim. One has to analyze, keeping the significators, the house, the sign or the Rashi, the friendship with the ascendant lord or the moon sign lord, their relational dispositions in the horoscope. All these things have to be considered before attempting to predict any result based on the notes. I hope it was an interesting session today. That brings us to the end of part 1. I'll be coming soon with part 2 with further details on the notes. Meanwhile, let me also remind you once again to please go ahead and buy my book SWARBHANU RAHASYA, Role of Notes in Destiny, where you will get to learn a lot about these shadowy planets, that is Rahu and Ketu. Till then, take care. Ciao.